Did you know your home is probably filled with dozens of things you don't even remember owning? And it's those tiny, forgotten items that quietly drain your energy every single day. Today, we're going through 9 things you can let go of. No stress, no pressure. These are the easy wins, the things you won't miss, but you will feel the difference once they're gone. Because decluttering isn't just about stuff. It's about creating space to think clearly, move freely, and feel more in control of your life, one small decision at a time. So if you're sitting there surrounded by to-dos or just feeling a little mentally heavy, get up and do this with me. I'll walk you through each category, and all you need to do is look around and pick one thing to start with. Let's start in the fridge and the kitchen cabinets. It's one of the easiest places to make progress without getting overwhelmed. When I decluttered my fridge last week, I found an old jar of mustard that had been opened ages ago and shoved to the back. No one had touched it in months. Same with those single-use sauce packets from takeout soy sauce salad dressing, all stuffed in a little bowl in the door. I ended up tossing most of them. They were just taking up space I could actually use. Then I opened the freezer. There were bags of frozen vegetables I didn't even remember buying. Some of them were covered in ice and I couldn't tell what was inside anymore. If you open your freezer and see anything that looks like that, it's probably safe to let it go. Next, I looked through my spices. Some of them had been sitting there for over a year, barely used. The lids were sticky, and when I opened them, they didn't even smell like anything anymore. I kept the ones I use all the time, like pepper and garlic powder, and tossed the rest. Then, I tackled my food containers. I had a whole stack of plastic tubs with no lids and a few that were cracked or warped. I used to keep them just in case, but honestly, I never reached for them. I only use the good ones that stack well and actually close, right? So the rest went out. Same thing with mugs. My husband and I each have a favorite one we use every day. The rest just sit there. I picked a few to keep for guests and let go of the random ones we never touch, especially the chipped ones or those freebie mugs we didn't even like. You might also want to check your dry goods, things like baking powder, tea bags, crackers. I once found a bag of green tea from 2021. I bought it thinking I'd try it, never did. It's okay to toss things you didn't end up using. I also went through my kitchen towels. Some were stained or barely absorbed water anymore. I tested each one, kept the few that worked, and got rid of the rest. No need to hang on to towels that just push the mess around. And then there were all those little extras like plastic straws, takeout utensils, napkins from drive-thrus. I kept a couple I might actually use, but cleared out most of them. They just pile up without you realizing. You don't have to clean out the whole kitchen. Just pick one shelf or one drawer. Open it up and look at what's really useful and what's just been sitting there. I'm doing this right along with you. And once the clutter's out of the way, you'll be amazed at how much easier it is to actually clean your space. In the next video, I'll show you how I gently deep cleaned my whole house one day at a time without feeling overwhelmed or burnt out. But for now, the fridge and cabinets, you've already made progress. Let's keep going. Now, let's move to the kitchen drawer, the one with all the random tools. You probably know exactly which drawer I'm talking about. We all have one. When I went through mine, the first thing I noticed was how many stray utensils were in there. I had forks and spoons that didn't match anything else. Some of them were bent or from old sets I didn't even have anymore. I kept the ones we actually use and donated the rest. No one needs 7 mismatched soup spoons. Then I found 2 bottle openers. One worked, the other didn't. I had kept the broken one thinking maybe it could still be useful somehow, but really it just made the drawer harder to close. Out it went. I also had 3 spatulas, all different colors and shapes, but I only ever used one. The others just got in the way every time I opened the drawer, so I picked my favorite and let the extras go. It's funny how much better that drawer feels when it isn't stuffed with duplicates. Same with scissors. I had 2 pairs in the kitchen, one was dull and barely cut through anything. I kept using the good one anyway, so the old pair went into the donation box too. There was also a can opener that used to work well, but now it slips all the time. I didn't even realize how much it annoyed me until I tried using it again. That went straight to the trash, and I finally replaced it with one that works smoothly. This drawer tends to be full of little things that feel harmless, but together they make it harder to find what you actually need. Just take 5 minutes to go through it. If something doesn't work, or you already have a better version, you can let it go. Let's step into the closet, a space that can feel overwhelming fast, but is also full of easy wins. The first thing I always look at is anything that doesn't fit right now. You know, the ones jeans you're holding on to just in case, or a dress you used to wear before your body changed. I had a few pieces like that, thinking maybe one day they'd fit again. But every time I saw them, I felt a little bad. So I finally asked myself if I needed clothes that fit me today, would I choose this? If the answer was no, I let it go. Next, I checked my bras. I had a couple that always felt tight or the straps wouldn't stay put, but I kept wearing them out of habit. Once I tossed those and kept the ones I actually reached for, it made getting dressed in the morning so much easier. Then there were the lonely sock single ones with no pair in sight. I used to save them just in case the other ones showed up in the laundry. But after a while, you just end up with a drawer full of maybes. So now if it's been more than a few weeks, I let them go. I also got honest about my old pajamas. Some were stretched out, faded, or didn't feel good anymore. Same with office clothes from when I used to go into work. If I'm not living that lifestyle now, I don't need to keep dressing for it. And don't forget accessories, scarves, and hats you forgot you even owned. If you haven't worn it in over a year and wouldn't miss it tomorrow, you probably don't need it. Let's move into the bathroom. This space can get cluttered fast, especially with little things that seem harmless until they pile up. The first thing I check is expired products. Makeup, skincare, anything with a pump or squeeze tube. They all have a shelf life, especially once opened. I've found lotions in my cabinet that were from over a year ago, half used but forgotten. If I can't remember when I opened it, or if it smells a little off, I let it go. Then there's shampoo and conditioner that didn't work for me. I used to keep bottles I didn't like just because they weren't empty. But if I'm avoiding them every time I shower, they're not worth keeping. Now I only hold on to the ones I actually enjoy using. I also go through my hair tools. At one point, I had 2 hair dryers. One worked great, the other barely turned on and made a weird smell. I kept it as a backup, but honestly, I never reached for it. Same with brushes. If the bristles are bent or it's uncomfortable to use, it's time to toss it. And then there's all the small stuff: cotton pads, bobby pins, clips, lip balms. It's easy for drawers and trays to fill up with half-used or broken items. I just went through mine last week and cleared out a ton of little things that were either empty, dried out, or I hadn't touched in months. My rule now is simple: if it doesn't work, if I don't use it, or if it makes getting ready feel messier, I don't keep it. It makes my mornings calmer, and my bathroom feels more like a space that supports me, not stresses me out. Let's take a quick look inside the medicine cabinet. This spot is small, but it can collect a surprising amount of clutter. The first thing to check is expiration dates. A lot of over-the-counter medicine has a short shelf life, and once it's expired, it may not work the way it should. I just went through mine last month and found cold meds from 2 winters ago. I tossed them without a second thought. Then, I looked for empty packaging boxes with nothing inside, or bottles with just 1 tablet left that I was never going to take. And finally, I let go of any prescription meds I've already stopped using. If it's not part of my current routine, it doesn't need to stay. This whole process takes just a few minutes, but it frees up space and makes it easier to grab what you actually need when you're not feeling well. Let's move over to your desk or workspace. Even if you don't work from home, this area can gather a lot of quiet clutter. I always start with pens. Somehow, I end up with a dozen, but half don't even work. I keep a notepad nearby, test each one, and toss the ones that are dried out. Simple, quick win. Next, I check sticky notes. If they're bent, torn, or have old scribbles I don't need anymore, out they go. Same with envelopes and greeting cards. If I've already read them and they don't hold any real meaning, I recycle them. You might also find papers you've been saving just in case old receipts expired, coupons, notes from past events. If it's not something you need for taxes or a current project, it's probably safe to let go. And don't forget old USB drives. If you don't know what's on them, plug them in check and either back them up or clear them out. Clearing your desk doesn't have to take long, but it gives you more room to think, plan, and breathe a little easier while you work. Now, let's walk into the living room, one of those spaces we see every day but sometimes stop really noticing. I started with the throw pillows. We had a pile of them on the couch, but no one ever used them. They'd fall on the floor, get in the way, and just collect dust. I kept 2 that we actually lean on and donated the rest. Then I looked around and spotted an old faux plant on a shelf. It hadn't been cleaned in ages. At one point it felt cute, but now it just looked tired. I decided it was time to let it go. You might also have picture frames that never made it to the wall. I found a few stacked behind the TV, things I meant to hang but never did. If it's been months and you still haven't found a spot for it, it's probably not going to happen. Bookshelves are another spot to check. I had a bunch of novels I'd already finished and knew I wouldn't read again. I boxed them up and took them to a secondhand shop. It felt so good to free up that space. Also, check for DVDs, especially if you don't even own a DVD player anymore. Same with old souvenirs or decorative pieces that no longer match your style. And if you have a rug rolled up in the corner or a decorative lamp you haven't plugged in for years, it's okay to let them go. Less stuff makes the room feel calmer and easier to actually enjoy. If you have kids or grandkids, their stuff tends to collect in little corners and it adds up fast. I started with the toys. Anything broken, missing pieces, or no longer played with went into a donate or toss pile. Some of them had been sitting at the bottom of the toy box for months untouched. That made it an easy decision. Next were the coloring books. I flipped through a few and saw they were mostly scribbled through or torn. If it's already been used and your child has moved on, there's no reason to hang on to it. Same with art supplies. I went through the markers and crayons. Anything dried out too short to grip or missing caps got tossed. It's much easier for kids to play when the tools actually work. I also looked at the drawings taped all over the walls and fridge. I let my kids pick their favorites to keep and the rest quietly came down. And of course I checked their clothes. If it doesn't fit or is too stained or worn, it goes. Even toy bins and storage boxes, if they're cracked or broken, they're not doing their job anymore. A few small changes make a big difference in keeping kid clutter under control. Let's move into the garage storage closet, or that space under the stairs, the areas we avoid but know need a cleanup. Start with anything big and clearly not usable. I had an old folding chair with a cracked leg that hadn't been touched in years. Gone. Same with a few broken tools that I kept just in case, even though I always reached for the working ones. I also found a couple of old paint cans from when we repainted 3 years ago. I opened one completely dried out. That made the decision easy. Scrap wood from an old DIY project. If you haven't used it yet, you probably won't. Same with boxes we saved just in case we need to ship something. I kept 2, recycled the rest. And then there were tangled cords and mystery wires. No label, no clue what they were for. Out they went. Clearing this space felt like lifting a weight I didn't even realize was there. Let's take a minute to go through your purse, wallet, and any bags or luggage you use often. These spots can fill up with little things we don't even realize we're carrying around. Start with old receipts. I had a pile shoved into a side pocket. Most were faded or from places I didn't even remember. Unless you need them for taxes or a return, they can go. Then check your cards. I found 2 expired membership cards and a punch card from a coffee shop I haven't been to in over a year. If it's not current or useful, there's no reason to carry it. I also found an old lipstick that had dried up and a movie ticket from last fall just tucked into a zipper pouch and forgotten. Same with loose coins scattered across the bottom and a few crumpled masks I meant to throw out weeks ago. These items might seem small, but they weigh your bag down and make it harder to find the things you actually need. A quick cleanout takes 5 minutes and makes everyday errands feel a whole lot lighter. Now let's talk about digital clutter, the stuff we don't see but definitely feel. Start with your phone, scroll through your apps and ask yourself, do I actually use this? I had at least 10 apps I hadn't opened in months, some I didn't even remember downloading. Deleting them only took a minute but made my screen feel cleaner right away. Then I went through my photos. I found a bunch of duplicate screenshots I didn't need anymore, or 5 versions of the same picture. I kept the best one and deleted the rest. Next up were the notes. I had grocery list reminders and random thoughts I'd already taken care of. Once something's done, there's no need to keep the clutter behind. Emails and texts, 2 old conversations, promotions, and junk mail pile up quickly. Clearing those out helps you breathe a little easier when you open your inbox. And don't forget your downloads folder. I found files from 3 years ago, things I didn't even need anymore. Just like with physical clutter, clearing digital space makes everything feel more manageable. Let's move on to paperwork. Whether it's a file cabinet, a drawer, or just a pile on the counter. I started with warranties. I had stacks of them for appliances we no longer owned. Once the product is gone or the warranty period ends, there's no reason to hold on to the papers. Out they went. Next, I found old photocopies of documents, things like property records or IDs that were needed once but no longer serve any purpose. If it's not legally necessary, I let it go. Then there were expired contracts for phone plans, service agreements, even an old gym membership. If the agreement is long over and everything's settled, it doesn't need to take up space anymore. Lastly, I went through the random flyers and brochures I'd tossed in just in case. Coupons that expired months ago, pamphlets I never looked at again, straight to the recycle bin. This kind of clutter builds up slowly, but clearing it makes it so much easier to find the papers that actually matter when you need them. Now let's talk about something we don't always see, but definitely feel mental clutter. Start with your to-do list. I looked at mine last week and realized there were things I'd written down months ago that just didn't matter to me anymore. Organize. Digital photos, start that new side project, learn a new app, all sounded great at the time, but I wasn't excited about them anymore. So I crossed them off. Not because I finished them, but because they were no longer worth holding on to. Then there are all the someday plans we carry around, like the class we thought we'd sign up for, or the friend we haven't reached out to in years. If something's been on your mind for too long without movement, it might be time to let it go. Or at least take it off your mental plate for now. Look at your calendar too. Are there recurring events or reminders that no longer serve you? I had a few meetings that had become more habit than necessity. Canceling or skipping them gave me back time and energy. And don't forget digital spaces. I left a few group chats that had gone silent. No one talked in them anymore, but they kept popping up and pulling my attention. Mental clutter can be just as heavy as physical clutter. Clearing it out helps you feel lighter and more focused on what really matters now. That's it, 99 small things you can start letting go of today. You don't have to tackle all of them at once. Even choosing just one drawer, one shelf, or one little corner can make a difference. Because every time you let go of something you don't need, you make a little more space, not just in your home, but in your mind. If you made it this far, I hope you feel a little lighter already. And if you're ready to go one step further once the clutter's out, it's the perfect time to give your home a deeper kind of reset. In the next video, I'll show you how to clean your entire home gently room by room over the course of 1 week. Nothing overwhelming, no all-day scrubbing. Just a simple rhythm to help your space feel refreshed and truly lived in again. So if that sounds like something you need, make sure you're subscribed and I'll see you in the next one.